We are just a few weeks away from the first ever Pokemon DLC, the Isle of Armor, and we know that later this year we're going to be getting the Crown Tundra, and there are going to be a ton of new Pokemon to explore, capture, train, and love, use in battles and beyond, and I am so excited for some of these new Pokemon. So in this video, we're going to break down the top 10 new Pokemon in the Pokemon Sword and Shield DLC. Let's do it.
Butterfree, go!
Yo, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive. Up guys, the top 10 brand new Pokemon for the Pokemon Sword and Shield DLC, the Isle of Armor and the Crown Tundra, both of which are coming out this year, and the Isle of Armor is just a few weeks away and is going to feature a ton of new Pokemon, so we are going to break them all down. There are some amazing new forms and Pokemon in this DLC. I'm so stoked, if I'm being totally honest. So be sure to like the video down below. Make sure you guys subscribe, of course. Get those notifications turned on because you do not want to miss the heat content I have coming for you guys leading up to the DLC and beyond. And of course, let me know in the comments section below which of these Pokemon you guys are most excited for. You're going to want to watch to the end because we've got some amazing Pokemon to cover in this video. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into it. The first Pokemon I'll talk about is probably my least favorite of the new ones, and it is a mythical Pokemon named Calyrex. Now, Calyrex is a Psychic and Grass-type Pokemon. Its ability is Unnerve, which is going to prevent the opponent from using different berries, which in competitive could be pretty good. In the current VGC metagame, berries are actually very common, whether they're type reduction berries or whether they are to boost the HP. It's still pretty viable to be able to stop those berries. Having the Psychic and Grass typing gives it the same exact type as Celebi, another mythical Pokemon, and this typing actually has some of the most weaknesses we've ever seen amongst competitive Pokemon. Weaknesses to Bug, and Fire, and Dark, and Ghost, and Flying, and beyond. It could make it pretty difficult for this Pokemon to shine in competitive with all those weaknesses, so let's hope that Calyrex is pretty offensive. This Pokemon is known as the King Pokemon, which seems pretty fitting knowing the Galar region, and obviously the lore tied to kings and queens in Galar, which wasn't really part of the main story, but it was something a lot of people theorized going into it. We'll have to see what Calyrex's impact is on the storyline going into the Crown Tundra. What's interesting is Pokemon has said that Calyrex actually ruled all of Galar in ancient times. It appears delicate and slight, but every move is filled with grace and dignity. It also has extremely high intelligence, maybe similar to that of like an Alakazam or a Metagross, and it's said to be able to see every past, present, and future event. Can we also point out the fact that it's got Triforces all over it? Could this be the first ever Pokemon Legends of Zelda collaboration that I am so ready to subscribe to? I'll be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Calyrex have more than one form. I think this Pokemon has a lot of secrets in store for us. The next Pokemon I'm going to talk about in this video is Galarian SLOWBRO and Galarian SLOWKING. I'm actually going to just loop them into one here. We know that Galarian Slowpoke is a brand new Psychic-type Pokemon, actually based on the previous Slowpoke, which is Water and Psychic. Very interesting there, and this is probably the form that we've seen a lot of images of, but there's still a lot of question marks surrounding it. Is there going to be a Mareanie on the top of Slowking's head? What is the deal with SLOWBRO? Does it have a different evolution? We actually just covered a rumor that talked about it actually being related to Galarian Corsola and Galarian Mareanie, and who knows what's going on with these Pokemon? Is it a Mareanie on its head? I have no idea. All I do know though is that SLOWBRO and SLOWKING are very impactful in competitive Pokemon. Both these dudes get Trick Room, they get Belly Drum, and they're known to have the ability Gluttony, which we can assume will pass on when it evolves. Gluttony is so good in competitive because they can absorb their berries at 50% health and give them a lot more health, which is a strategy we see Snorlax use with Belly Drum and berries. It's actually really viable, and I have a feeling that SLOWBRO and SLOWKING could be a very impactful Pokemon in the competitive metagame. Again, there's still some questions regarding their typing and their movesets and things like that, but given that this is one of the featured Pokemon to kind of advertise the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra DLC, I do think there are plenty of secrets in store, and they're going to be pretty big powerhouses when these DLCs finally release. One of the interesting things that Pokemon historically does is kind of hint at future regions. We saw this in the Alola region, and now we've seen some teasers to Sinnoh, and it seems as though Kubfu comes from a faraway region as well, and Kubfu, of course, is going to be the focal point of the first DLC, the Isle of Armor. This little fighting type is a hard-working Pokemon that features the ability Inner Focus, so it cannot be flinched. Now, we know it has two different forms when it evolves, which we're going to get to here in a little bit, but this little guy is going to be given to us by Mustard, and there are so many questions surrounding this. Are we going to be able to bring our old Pokemon into the Isle of Armor to utilize them, or will we be stuck using Kubfu and catching all brand new Pokemon? There's a huge level scaling issue that this is going to present, but I'm very eager to see what goes down with Kubfu and the Tower of Mastery. Mastery. What's pretty interesting about Kubfu is it's got an organ in its lower abdomen that actually produces its fighting energy that allows it to get some big blows off in competitive Pokemon. I have a feeling that this Pokemon is going to be a monster when it finally evolves into the dark and fighting type and water and fighting type Urshifu. Urshifu is the next Pokemon we're going to talk about, and it is the evolved form of Kubfu, and we know that this is going to be the focal point of the Isle of Armor DLC. You're gonna obtain this Kubfu, you're gonna train it up in the Tower of Mastery with Colonel Mustard, or whatever his name is, Colonel Ketchup, who knows, and you're gonna be able to train him up and choose one of your forms. You're gonna get the single strike form, which is the fighting and dark type Urshifu, or you're gonna get the rapid strike form, which is the water and fighting type Urshifu. And both of these Pokemon have a ton of potential and a ton of power, and I'll tell you what, I love the combination of water and fighting. It's something we've seen before with Keldeo and Poliwrath, but I think it could be really, really cool with Urshifu. And I'm actually curious, I'm gonna pass the ball to you guys. Which Urshifu form do you plan on picking in the Isle of Armor DLC? One thing that I think is really cool is it has a signature ability called Unseen Fist, and we really have a lot of question marks about what that is going to entail. One thing we do know, however, is that Urshifu does have Gigantamax forms depending on which variant you go for, which are not tied to whether you're playing Sword or Shield. It's all about the game choices you make in the Tower of Mastery. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how this Pokemon plays out as the Isle of Armor DLC rolls out soon. The next of the mythical Pokemon that we're gonna receive is Zarude, and I'm not talking about the Sandstorm. Zarude is a grass and dark type Pokemon that's featured in the upcoming movie Coco, but of course a lot of that stuff has gotten scrapped given the recent coronavirus pandemic, but we will get Zarude at some point in the DLC, most likely a distribution through Mystery Gift prior to, and we know that it's got an interesting signature move of Jungle Healing, which actually heals itself and its ally in double battles, which could prove to be an incredibly useful tool going into the battle mechanics. It does have a pretty trashy ability in Leaf Guard, which protects it from status conditions when it's sunny. I have a feeling that this Pokemon is going to be incredibly offensive, however, and very, very fast. This Pokemon does not look like it's going to be very bulky, but its signature move leads us to believe that maybe it is a support-like Pokemon. There's a lot of question marks around Zarude and this crazy, crazy Pokemon, and I think we're going to get some of those answers very, very soon. The next two Pokemon I'm going to talk about are actually Regivolt and Regivern, and that's what I'm going to call them because we don't actually know what their names are, but these two Pokemon are poised to be released in the Crown Tundra DLC later this year. It's been a long time since we've seen a focus on the Regi Pokemon from the Hoenn region, as we have Registeel, Regice, Regigigas, and Regirock. I forgot the name of the Regis. And now we're gonna actually have our first look at two brand new Regis. The big question mark about this, however, is that Regivern seemingly has already been teased through the entrance to Hammerlock City, as you got that big kind of snapjaw dragon going on there as you enter the city, and that seems to be a reference to the side arms of Regivern. We'll have to see whether Regivolt has any sort of tie-in to the DLC, but I'm sure these two are gonna have a big story. And will there be more Regis aside from these? It is very possible that these are not just the only Regis that we're gonna see. The possibilities are truly endless here. We know the Regis to be incredibly bulky, right? Registeel, Regirock, Regice, they're all incredibly bulky Pokemon, and a pure electric type with only one weakness to ground types and a pure dragon type that doesn't have that massive 4x weakness to ice could prove to be incredibly powerful and competitive with the right base strat distribution and the right pure typings. I look for these to disrupt the competitive metagame when they finally are released. The last few Pokemon we're going to talk about in this video are the ones I am actually most excited for, and that is the legendary bird trio. We know that we're going to get new forms for Galarian, Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres, and they look insane. The first one we're going to talk about is Moltres, and Moltres has such a unique look to it. It actually has this incredible black skin tone with these flames all over it, and it really begs the question of what typing is Moltres going to be? Is it going to be dark type? Is it going to still be flying type? Is it going to be fire type? We have no clue. Is it ghost type, actually? I mean, there's so much potential here for Moltres. There are so many options that this thing could be a different type. And I'll be honest with you, Moltres has actually grown on me a lot over the years as a competitively viable Pokemon because of all the cool things it could do with Z moves back in the Alola region. But that 4x weakness to rock types have always kind of held it back. But I think that with a new typing, this Pokemon could be absolutely disruptive to the competitive metagame. The Roadrunner Zapdos is epic. I'm curious whether or not this Pokemon is going to retain its flying typing, as it seems that this Pokemon does not actually fly anymore. Its wings are much shorter from the images that we've seen, and it seems to have taken to the ground to kind of take off there. I am so excited about this, as we know that Zapdos has received some really cool buffs going into the Galar region with moves like Hurricane, which it previously didn't have. What will this Galarian Zapdos form have in store for us? It looks epic. I think it's only fitting that I wrap this video up with my favorite of the bird trio, and that is Articuno. Now, Articuno's been my favorite of the legendary birds since I was a kid and as long as I can remember, but its brand new Galarian form is going to be incredible. There's a lot of question marks around its typing. Is it going to be Psychic type? Is it going to be Ghost type? It almost kind of reminds me of like one of the Oricorio forms actually, which is pretty nuts, but it seems as though it does still shoot out a beam of ice, but what is it going to be type-wise? Does it have a Ghost typing? I mean, there's so many question marks about this legendary trio, and I really can't wait to kind of dig into the discoveries of the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra DLC to see what these Pokemon have in store for us. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely love talking about Pokemon, new Pokemon, and the potential of what's to come in these upcoming DLCs. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I ask that you like the video, subscribe if you guys are new, let me know which Urshifu form you're gonna pick, and which of these amazing new Pokemon you're most excited to pick up as the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra DLC come out in the next few weeks and later this year. I'm pretty excited, man, and I'm so stoked to jump into these new adventures in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Get those notifications turned on so you don't miss a video, and thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Dan, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Free, go!